Just what you've talked a bit about mental health, and you say you speak on it. What do you speak about on it?
Well, so I have had my ups and downs, and with the new record that I just put out, in the build up to it, I went through quite a rough patch in my personal life, which has a happy ending, and it had a lot to do with my partner, and indeed to do with drugs, which I had a big problem with, and she essentially sort of did the it's me or them kind of business, if you know what I mean. And in part of trying to make the right choice about that, I went through CBT therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and it was sort of life-changing for me, actually, like really profoundly life-changing. And I went from being a very unbalanced, unhappy person to being better.
Yeah. Well, no, I for regular podcast listeners all know that I've suffered from mental health issues, which is why I started this podcast, because I started reading self-help books constantly, non-stop. And then I thought, well, I'm going to give my advice, their advice, which I sucked it all in and then gave out. So we basically started this podcast, but it's interesting because I've never gone onto the medication. I tried it once, I hated every minute of it. Yeah. And so I've always done the therapy route and reading. I do a lot of reading and I do therapy, and I've done therapy. And I think that's good. What is your advice for people if they are suffering from mental health?
I think, well, the thing about it for me, the first thing is that in my experience, the worst part of mental health is isolation and not communicating about it, which is in large part to do with social stigma attached to mental health issues. You kind of go, I'm embarrassed to talk about this, or no one's going to care if I talk about this, or my friends are going to laugh at me if I tell them about this, or it's an admission of weakness and this kind of thing. But the problem with that is that isolation is like a pressure cooker, because you then get worse and you get worse and worse and worse and worse. And the very first moment when I really started talking to a friend of mine about it felt like the biggest thing in the world for me. And he was just like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Well, let's talk about it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like it wasn't a big deal to him, but it wasn't this like kind of apocalypse in our friendship. It was, he just went, oh shit, okay, well, let's do something about that then. And it was like, oh my God, I should have done this years ago. You know,
it's tough doing your job and having mental health issues, though, isn't it? Because you are away from home a lot.
Yes,
and there is isolation there.
There is.
Hotel rooms are hard.
Yeah, they are, and there is a lot of the life that you lead as a touring musician is really odd.
It's really odd, yeah.
And it's hard.
Everyone thinks it's so glamorous, but it's hard work and it's exhausting.
And also, I mean, one of the things that's been an issue for me, I've spent my entire professional life in situations where alcohol is more readily available than food.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, and if I drink everything in the fridge, someone will put more in there.
Yeah.
And if I want to find something else to get stuck into, I can do it. It'll take me about 5 minutes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you do. And then you're not eating properly, and you're not sleeping properly, and you're just a complete fucking mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then there's a tune on the new record called Little Changes, which is sort of like trying to talk about that, what CBT did for me, because again, talking about this sort of how it can feel like an insurmountable, enormous thing to actually make the first step of talking to somebody about what you're going through. Similarly, one of the problems I had was it was like so much needs changing that I don't know where to start, and I just have to become a different person if I'm ever going to get better. So fuck it, I'm just going to be me, and this is who I am, and I'm stuck in this. And CBT was great because CBT just breaks it down into bite-sized chunks. And one of the things that they did was really talk me through my decision-making process. So it's like, you know, you're at a bar, the suggestion comes up of picking up some stuff. You know, how do you feel? What's your thought process? Why do you do this? Why don't you not do it? Do you know what I mean? And it really sort of like it broke the boulder down into rocks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's the idea, and the song talks about it, Little Changes. It's like, you know, if all you do is try and aim to change everything all in one go, then you're probably going to fail.
How does it work putting it down in a song? These sort of personal things. Is it therapeutic to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's a large extent to which my writing has been a form of public therapy for me for a long time. I put out a record in 2013 called Tape Deck Heart that was a whole record about me screwing up an important relationship in my life, and I dealt with it in a public way, in a way that, for the most part, I'm happy with it. The person who was on the receiving end of that didn't enjoy it very much, and I do feel bad about that on some levels. But generally speaking, a lot of people have come to me over the years and said that they've taken solace from that record, or it's helped them through a situation or whatever. I guess the point, you know, the knack of poetry or songwriting or whatever you want to call it is just finding that neat and relatable way of saying a thing that everyone's thinking.
You've got a lot of really you got a lot of fans who really like you, haven't you? But do
I hope so.
No, you do. Yeah, it's like every time I've had you on a show, so you get a lot of your fans come on and discuss it. Do you get criticism as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, although there's an interesting point in this. I mean, obviously, social media. There's a gang of people on Twitter who hate my guts. I've muted them all now, so whatever. And they're entitled to their opinion, whatever. They don't know me, but life goes on. But I think I've had since the early days of my career, and this goes back to what I was saying about selling my own merch. My email address is on my website, always has been, always will be, and anyone can email me at any point, and they do. And of my mailbox, 90% of it is people who like me, or either just saying that, or saying I really like you. When are you next playing here? Or I really like you, my brother's getting married, can you say hi? Or whatever. And I do all that stuff and it's great. But of course there's the 10% of people who find my email address and go, aha, an opportunity to call Frank Turner names. Yeah. And they do. And the thing that I've learned over the years, and I actually think this fed quite a lot into the way that I came about phrasing everything on Be More Kind, was that if you get an email from somebody going, you're a fucking prick, I hate you for the following 900 reasons, the instinctive reaction on my part, other than just deleting it, is to reply in kind and go, well, you're a fucking prick as well. And I've learned that if you don't do that, if you keep your cool, keep your manners, then you can achieve something. You're not going to save the world doing it. But so for example, a couple of years ago, there was a guy who was from Minneapolis who had read something I said in an interview, decided I was therefore the devil, and sent me a very long, angry email telling me that I was the devil and that I'd sold punk rock out and blah, 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 and all this kind of thing. And I wrote back and I said, well, I'm sorry you feel like that. A couple of things I think you've got the wrong end to stick on, and a couple of things we just flat out disagree on. But anyway, go in peace, all the best kind of thing. Yeah. And it turned into a conversation, and I ended up putting him on the guest list for our next Minneapolis show. And he came down and we had a beer. And we didn't get on super well, I'll be honest with you. But it was a much better end point to that.
I just love the idea of you selling out. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Where's the line between selling out?
The first time I ever got called to sell out, right? This is a true story. It was about the third tour I ever did. We had a van that had seats in it.
Oh,
and the
sell
guys
out.
No, this is true. The guys at the squat where we used to rehearse saw the van pick us up and we were loading the gear in. And the guy came over and said, who you think you are? Fucking Motley Crue. And because we had seats in a transit van. But I remember at the time thinking, well, that's done. If I'm a sellout now, then that, it's almost like getting your BCG or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's done that. Carry on.